monthly meeting of the vets and family. We're going to start with an open prayer by John Sherrill. Uncovered.
I want to thank you, gentlemen, for allowing me this privilege to be able to say a prayer for you and a bunch of veterans. It's great to do this. Almighty God, the maker of this wonderful universe that we live in, we want to thank you for a country that helps all other countries. We want to thank you for the people, especially the male veterans, that go out and give their life for this country. We thank you, Lord, for everything that you do for us. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please all rise for the pledge of allegiance. Represent the flag of our country. Put your right hand over your heart and follow me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. The only thing I'm going to mention tonight early is we're getting ready for Memorial Day. The veterans are going to put on another service here like last year. We'll be with 2020 will be with us in the American Legion Post 273. We will start at the waterfront and we'll have the program, and everybody's welcome to come. We'll do the program for the ones lost at sea, then we'll move up here to our veterans area and continue. Our children that came last year from Florida Youth Challenge will be here to present the colors and retire the colors. We have an agenda over there if anybody wants to look at it. It's there, and we'll be having a guest speaker. We don't know who yet. We're a little early for that. Donna will now take over the program.
I want to thank all of y'all for your service, of course, and thank our visitors who are here with us today. It's exciting for all of the residents here. They love to tell their stories, and I just find as much information I can get from them, I love writing it down. We've found out so much about a lot of our residents here, survivors of some difficult times. We do have one that's a survivor of the Battle of Midway, the USS Princeton. They've all been featured in the News for Jacks, the Times Union. They went out and shared their stories out at Mayport at a ceremony there, I think it was last year. And I'm sure there are stories that we have not even heard yet. But I would like for some of them to come up and just share some of their stories with you so you can kind of see what they went through, because it's really, nobody knows what they went through then. It was a tough time. I think now today our military, and they kind of have it made, if you want to say, with the technology and I mean, I know it's still dangerous and difficult, but these guys were just really just going out there on a wing and a prayer, and a lot of them weren't even old enough to go. I have heard stories where they would lie about their age so they could go. That's how much dedication that they had to their country. So I don't know who we want to start with. I would just pick some names, and if you don't want to, I can kind of read a little bit. I pulled an old up close and personal on you, Herb. that talked about what you did in the military, which I found very interesting. So I didn't know if you want to come up and share with us a little bit about your story, and then we'll have a few more. Okay? You want to come up and talk about it?
No.
Oh, come on.
What do you want me to talk about?
Well, your time in Herb was in a naval architect. He was right out of college. He was assigned to the design division of a large naval shipyard. It says he was self-motivated, a skilled engineer, and he proved to be capable in accepting responsibilities for important jobs. Even he was used to do structural drawings of major modifications of 2 of the largest aircraft carriers at that time. After that, he was involved in the scrapping of the World War II fleet submarine and aircraft carrier, which I think was very interesting. So, you would like to share about that.
For you people that may not know it, the Moose, for over 100 years, not only has this place, but we have a school where we take children from lost and broken homes and we raise them. In World War II, a lot of those children left Moosehaven to go into the service, and a lot of them never came back. One did win the Congressional Medal of Honor, and these children, for years, have joined the military out of our school up there. And we are proud of them, and we think about them every Memorial Day and all the time. Thank you.
All right, I started out as a naval architect, and I worked for the Navy Department. And they put me in, but I had to be drafted, see. So when I was drafted, they put me in the Army, naturally. You hear me? And so I spent 2 years in the Army, and then when I got out, I went back to shipbuilding. And when I was in the Army, they sent me over to Fort Leonard Wood for drafting school. Well, you know, I thought I would be be good for it, you know. And when I got over there was no drafting school. It was combat engineers. I had made the mistake of putting an engineer down on my resume. So I was stuck in combat engineers, and then I got sent to Germany, and I was still in the engineers, but I wanted to try to get into a drafting room, and because they drove in they have a demolition field, and the demolition field is a place that's plowed. They remove all the rocks, and they ignite explosives down there. Well, we had a train car. They put us in the formation, and we went into this place that had a train car derailed on it, rail on it, and it was full of satchel charges. And the satchel charges were from the Second World War, and this was like in the 50s or 60s. And they were leaking, you know, they were wet. That meant there was nitroglycerin, you know. And so we had to take those things down to the demolition field and explode them. And when we would get down there, they gave us a fuse about 20 feet long and a torpedo igniter to light the fuse. And the first thing you do was, said you straighten out this cotter pin. Then you had to pull the plug, you know, the pin. Well, if you didn't pull the cotter pin, didn't fold that little cotter pin back, when you pulled the pin out, the thing would break off and the pin was still in there. You know, beautiful government work. So we go down there and had all we could carry, satchel charges in front of us, and we had them primed, and we went to pull it out. Listen, you know, I can follow instructions pretty good. So I had carefully straightened that pin out and pulled it out, cotter pin. And then when I pulled the pin, it went pop and it did my fuse. And here are all these other guys pulling it, and got the pin in their hand, but no light, you know, because they had not pulled the pin out. And I didn't particularly like that job because I knew what the demolition field was, because I had been on in training. And I was always a guide off because I was tall, and I was on the first one on the field. First one on the field, the last one out. So I recognized the demolition field and saw what they were doing. And my chute became mysteriously untied, and so I fell out of line. And that put me on the end of the line, first off the field, see. And so I was up the field when it blew off. But I didn't particularly like that job. And so I tried to get out of the engineering part, and I was in Heidelberg. It was at the headquarters of Europe, and they had 23 generals on that post. So I thought they would have to have a drafting room somewhere, and I went to work for the Comptroller General of Europe, and I had a drafting room. And so then I was free of the bad stuff. Thank you.
Is Mr. Holt here tonight? Bill Holt, he's one of a new resident over in Ohio.
No, you're not here.
And he did not come. I wanted to share his story with you guys so y'all know, and go over, introduce yourselves to him if you haven't met him yet. I went and done a story on Bill when he first got here, because he's got some early dementia, so I wanted to get his story and talk to him about it. Bill was one of the gentlemen who lied about his age and got into the military. I think he went in, he was 17. He became a paratrooper. He has many pictures in his room and newspaper articles, but he had 250 successful jumps. And during World War II, I mean, phenomenal. He just has a great story. I already have it written, but I'm saving a lot of the details for the next newspaper. But if you get a chance, go over, talk to him, introduce yourself to him so you can hear his story, because, you know, of course, the older we all get, the more our memory leaves us, and we can't remember details of our events and stories and things that we've been through. And if you want to come share it with me anytime, call me, because I'd be willing to go to in your room or whatever. We'll sit down and go ahead and write your story. I want to talk about 3 of our residents who went out to Mayport. I have Jack Delagrange, Howard Mathias, and Whitey Nevins. They were all in the military, and they were all a part of the Battle of Midway. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. Whitey actually was on a ship that was bombed, and he survived it. I don't know if he wants to talk about that tonight or not. Whitey, do you want to talk about the being on the ship and about it going down?
You want me to come back?
Yeah, yeah. Whitey was a cook. He has a lot of color to his story. Just tell us about the story about the ship and about share it with our visitors tonight.
Well, I'll start from the bottom, end up the top. I was only 16 and a half when I went into service. my father says to me, either I go into service or get in trouble. So I went down, he took me down west, going to join the Marines. But I went in there, says, Whitey, you got flat feet, you can't join the Marines. Just go down the hall, 2 doors, go in the Navy, they'll take you. Okay, so that was that. So they called me back in about a week, and I went to Chicago for base training. First it started out 6 weeks, and I went in 1940 into 41. And they kept cutting it down a week, cutting it down a week. Finally I had 2 weeks of base training. That's all I had out of the 6. So then you had 3 choices. You could be a mech, you could be a pilot mech, or you could be a cook, or anything. What am I going to do? I took the 3rd. I became a cook. So they sent me away to Chicago for 3 months to school for cooking. Then they sent me right to Norfolk, Virginia. I got on the Bennington, USS Bennington, brand new out. Stayed there a week. They shipped us right over to the Pacific. We stopped at Hawaii, went through the canal, stopped at Hawaii, and then we went on out to sea. During that, we were out to sea. I'll cut some of it short, and then I'll tell you the fight. We were out there for maybe 6 months without seeing land. Then we'd go back in for about a week to one of the islands there. But that's out there for 3 years. Then we ended up with going to Midway. That was our head, that was where we were headed for, Midway and then Tokyo. But while we were going out there, we stopped at an island called Leahy. They gave us a big deal. They took us in there. We had a hot beer day that day. Said we're going to go out for beer. So we had 3 hours of beer, and then we were back on our ship. We had nothing but air flights at night. That's the most time that we were busy. And so anyway, we were out there. We went through one typhoon, which we lost maybe 800 feet of our bow for takeoff. The plane's taking off. So we got that fixed, pulled in one of the islands there and got that fixed. And then we were right in Midway. That's 1946, 1st of 46. We were there fighting every night, and my headquarters, I was a cook. Well, I had no watches to stand. Only when we were in flight, I was sent up topside to make sure they had soup and sandwiches to eat. And they had, on our ship, they had 2 rows of 10mm guns. Then on the rear, on the fantail, we had 2 20 gauge guns, which the boys manned it. I didn't have to do none of that though, but then every night, about midnight, there'd be a run on us, dive bombers they'd be fighting there for maybe 4 hours, 5 hours. But some things that happened, they'd warm the planes up 4 o'clock in the morning. Then they'd take the flights. You could see them fight, and they'd come down. Some of them fly down right on your deck, but they couldn't drop the bombs because it was inefficient. The planes wasn't working just right for them. But anyway, they would be fighting down. They took about 20 feet of our fantail off because a plane was going to land on it, and he missed it. But then the pilots, while them machines were all wound up, getting hot for takeoff, three of the pilots, they're all Marine pilots, they took off out of the cabin there. What did they do? Run right into the props. You know what happened? I just looked. They went and got the hose, took their dog tags off, lost in action, loaded them right off on the side of the ship. But we were in there for 4 months, and that's the kind of work that we had to do in there. Then we finally pulled in Japan, and we were in there for the signing of that. We stayed 2 weeks and come out. But most of our fighting was done on Midway Island. And that was the only thing. But outside of that, the Navy was a great job to be. And I took the easiest thing out as a cook, which I had no watches, no nothing. But if anybody wants to know anything about it, I have a big write-up on it from the Navy Yard down here. I was going to bring it and let you just look at it and read it. But it had the whole Midway Island on it that our ship was in. So, but outside our ship come back normal. It's in mothballs now. It wasn't for a while, but it is now. But there was 3,000 men on it. Most of them were Marines. They were Marine pilots and Marine guards. But outside of that, we were all Navy. And we fed 6 chow lines every day. 3,000 men every day, 6 chow lines. But everything went perfect. And there are some few odds and ends, but first our ship was one of the best out there. One of the best that was out there. A couple of our aircraft carriers got bound and lost out there before we got there. So that's about all. I got no injuries except in pilots that got washed overboard. That's it.
What's your age, 94? 93? You're 94 or 93? 93? That's how old?
Yeah.
How old are you? Is that how old you are? Come on. You're older than that. I know you are. Okay. I won't ask any more. There are friends here. I won't embarrass you.
95.
95.
Yeah. Good.
What was the name of his ship?
I don't remember.
Oh, you didn't say.
I was halfway listening. But his story and the write-ups in the Florida Times, you can go online and Google it. You just type in Whitey Nevins, or you got a copy of Chancellor too, so you can go up there and read it. They have one up there. Rena, would you like to come and share some of your story with us? Rena is one of our goals, our only Gold Star mother here.
Happy birthday tomorrow, Rena.
Happy birthday.
Well, mine's a pretty short story. In November of '68, some of you may remember there was a bombing halt for 3 days. Well, my son was a door gunner on a helicopter, or his pregnant guppy, he used to call it. And they were all told they couldn't have any ammunition to shoot. But somebody neglected to tell the enemy that they weren't to fight. So 5 helicopters were shot down, and 3 boys were killed, and Ray was one of them. It's a short story, but that's what it was. And I'm sorry they had that war, because it wasn't worth having. Thank you.
Okay, I guess all of you can hear me, I hope. I joined the Navy when I was 17, but they wouldn't take me then. They said it had to be 18. So I went back to myself and see about another month and come back and join. Okay? So we went to Chicago and trained to be on ships. Well, and I didn't know what one was going to be on, but they trained us how to move. You had to be able to swim 50 feet in order to be in the Navy. So I've done that and all that. So I went over to Barbara and I boarded an aircraft carrier right there called USS Princeton. And the way we went, all I was going, and of course we had to learn how to land the planes, we had to learn how to take them off, and we had to learn everything about an aircraft carrier like that. And it was fabulous for a young guy, real young, didn't know much about anything, was on it. And we went out, and of course the Japanese at that time owned Evert Island in the Pacific. And we had to take them all back. So we had engagements and battles every day. It was really something to be able to see it and be in it. It was, I'm going to wind up a bit more. The carrier that I was on was called USS Princeton. And of course, back in them days, they only had one runway to land and take off. They didn't have like they do today, several, but they had one. And of course, we had a net there that would catch planes as they would land. The planes would come in and land on the flight deck, and this net here would stop them from going over and into the ones that were already landed. So this one plane come in, and he come in and he hit harder than the rest of them did. And he bounced all the way over that thing. And went head there, put the planes above. And Paul knew that, so he immediately turned his plane around, to the tail around. So he went when you went there, and I saw some guys and we all did. So one side of the carrier, they have little nets on one side that we jump into in case the plane gets there. So I jumped into it, and the plane turned, and it was right above my head. Hit the top. I look up, it was about that much off my head. Man, God, thank you. So we straightened the plane up and went on up and pushed him up there. And that happened all the time. Not that way. There was the only plane that ever jumped the whole net. Most of them hit, and we stopped them. But it's fabulous what happens on things that you do not expect. And it's just a great feeling to see all the planes coming in and taking off. And the Japanese were always on every day. We had battles almost every day out there when I was on that ship. And in 1944, we were headed close to the island where we would take. We were supposed to get back. And we were in battle almost every day. And I happened to see this one carrier, a Japanese carrier, down flying right around 5 or 6 feet above the water. And we saw him dropping. They looked like a torpedo. Of course, I couldn't tell from that distance. But we saw it coming at us. And I said, man, I hope that thing's gonna hit us. As I was watching it, and all of a sudden, that thing, about 20 feet from us, The man upstairs stopped it. The motor stopped, and the thing just sunk. About 20 feet from us. I said, man, thank you, God. And then when we were running around that park, we had a bomber come at us, a driver, right on down, and they dropped a bomb on us. And it went right through, down the flight deck, through the flight deck, hangar deck, first and second, and it exploded on the third. The third time. And there was a bunch of us down or killed. And they exploded. And the first thing you know, the Admiral, which was Admiral Nimitz at that time, left 2 other ships with us. And we knew our ship was going down, but we didn't know how fast or when. So, the other 2 ships were going around us, circling around us, and they wasn't allowed to stop. Because they're dangerous when they stop. So, out of 2 of them come up to us and threw water on us to kind of cool down our ship. But it didn't move. And then we had a big explosion on the starboard side because of the fire and everything, a bomb, and it started exploding. And one ship lost several of their ships, so they had to back off. You guys screaming, you know, when you meet another man and see him, it hurts. But anyway, there was a big explosion and the ship backed off. And there was a big explosion and the captain said, abandon ship, abandon ship. So our ship had ropes on the side, and we had a man assigned, and we kind of cut them all off. And he did. And I went down this one ride in the ocean. And I don't know if y'all ever heard or read about a little book that saved a man's life. Well, I was the man, and I had the book. And I didn't know this, but when I got down in the water, I felt something hit my side. I reached up there, and there was that little book. Right in my pocket. And I pulled it out, and I gave him my Bible, a little bitty Bible. So I kept it in my pocket. And I started swimming with that in my pocket. And of course, you know, you have to be able to swim 50 feet because the ship sucks all the water on them and they sink. But ours didn't sink quite that fast, so the plane, the other ship run around there picking us all up. And he picked me up, and I'll tell you, he picked me up, there was a rope right alongside of his ship. And I climbed up that rope, hit up there, and I said, man, I picked that Bible in my pocket. Put it back in my pocket. And the man standing right outside of me, sailor. He says, you know, never knew him before in my life, never seen him. He said, you know that's the greatest book there is? I said, yes. I know that. He said, tell you what you do. Go each out, see a gun turret up there? Yeah. He said, come on up there. I said, oh, I did, and I did just that. And if you know anything about shipboard, when you open the hatch, all the lights inside go out because the enemy plane can't spot you. So I stepped in there, shut the hatch, lights come on, and I'll tell you, there were 90 guys sitting around underneath that gun turret. And I made 10. And they were all praying. Each and every one of them. And I thought, man, God is good. But anyway, after that, then we actually shot our own torpedo into our ship, to Princeton, USS Princeton, and it went down flat. And then we were through with that battle today. But it was great that they could be saved. After the shore, all you see is nothing but oil on the water. And we lost 108 men that day. And every time I think about it, it fills me up. There's men give their life all over this country, on the east side and west side, because we are the only country that had a war on both sides of us at the same time. Germany and Japan. And they needed so many people, and yet young men, that they took us fast to get us out there and get us in this war, and get us in the battles. And it made a wonderful feeling that you get to come home when your mother put her arm around you. But I didn't want to tell you about that, but that ship was gone. That was the first greatest ship. I come home and they put me on another carrier and sent me back out. But that's all I need to tell you about that. But it's just a great feeling to be alive. When the ship was sunk and went down into that water, and of course you had to swim, but that's life. And I thank you very much.
I think I'd cry too. Just so our visitors know, we have close to 200 veterans here, and every branch of the service is represented here at Moosehaven in some way, even the Coast Guard. So I don't know if any of our other veterans feel like sharing. If not, I'm going to let some of our guests maybe come up and share a little bit of whoever would like to share some of their story with us. Okay.
Hopefully everybody can hear me. My name is Evert. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. I emailed Donna about maybe 2-3 weeks ago asking could my command, the people that are here with me, come over here and just spend the evening with you guys, and she said you all were looking forward to having us, and we were looking forward to coming too, so we're glad we're here. I joined the Navy September 27th, 2000. I'm coming up on 18 years. When I first came in, I was stationed up in Evert, Washington on the carrier, USS Abraham Lincoln. Did 2 cruises on that. The USS Abraham Lincoln was the ship that George Bush flew onto after the war started off in around 2003 when they had the big slogan up there that said mission accomplished. I left the Lincoln, I went down to Point Mugu, California, and I started working on P-3s. Spent a little bit of time there. I didn't really care for P-3s. I didn't care for prop planes, period. Left there, I went to San Diego. I started working on, I'm a mech. So that's an AD in the Navy. When I left Point Mugu, I went down to San Diego. I started working on H-3 helicopters, Sea Kings. From the Sea Kings, I left, I started working on H-60s, which we have a few of them over here on NAS Jacks. I left San Diego. These are all full tours that I did there. When I left there, I went to Whidbey Island, Washington. Started working on DC-9s in the Navy, there are C-9Bs. And then from there, I transferred. I came down here to Mayport to work on some unmanned drones. That was interesting. I went out on a frigate over here, the USS Samuel B. Roberts. And then when I got done with that, I transferred here over to NAS Jacks, which is where all of us are at right now. We're all stationed with a squadron over here called Fleet Logistics Support Squadron 58. And we work on C-40s. The C-40 is basically the military version of a 737 that probably all of us in here have flown on at some point in time. And at any given time, we're all over the world. We have a group of people right now out in Atsugi, Japan. There's other times where we're in Japan, Bahrain, and Italy at the same time. We go to those 3 places and we fly all over from wherever they want us to go. We're tasked to carry logistics, parts, Navy SEALs, anybody that we're tasked to carry, we do. So when I first came in the Navy, I was rambunctious. I thought I knew everything. I didn't like the Navy, but here I am 18 years later, and I think it's probably the greatest decision I made. So that's just my quick story. So I'll pass it on to one of my shipmates if they want to come up.
Hi, my name's Tracy. I'm stationed here now. I got here about in May, so it's kind of new. I'm learning around Jacksonville a lot. I've been in the Navy for about 13 years, a little shy of it. My first duty station was San Diego. That's where I met Adam and Matt. So we worked on H3s together, and then we went to H60s, so we had to decommission, well, not decommission, but basically get rid of the aircraft and accept an aircraft. So my source rate in the Navy is, best way to say it, it's a secretary for the maintenance department. So I just make sure the paperwork for our aircraft are good to go, and that we're flying fake jets. So worked on helos there in San Diego, went to Fallon, Nevada, where they moved Top Gun to when it left Miramar. So worked over there. I worked on F-5s, which were the adversary planes that dogfight and trained the Top Gun pilots. So that was fun. Kind of thought it was like a really relaxed duty station because we didn't have to go out. So like it's hard to follow the ones who came before me up here because we do have it easy, but I have to thank you all for paving the way for us and giving us that benefit. So I left Fallon in about 2009, 2010, and went to Whidbey Island, worked on the DC-9s, and transitioned over to C-40s, and then came over here less than a year ago, and now I'm still working C-40s. So this is my second tour C-40s. It's been a ride. I think we all think that, hey, we're going to come in, trying to get away from home, think we're grown. That's how I know my generation was. I had the luxury because you guys, like I said, you guys kind of paved the way, giving us that luxury and a whole sense of entitlement I had coming in, but your story really impacted me because I have it good. I have it really good. I can't complain. I wasn't drafted. It was my choice. Like Mr. Whitey said, I tried to do Air Force and they told me no, go down the hall, so I went Navy. So, but I just want to say I really appreciate being here with you guys. I'm very humbled and honored to be in your guys' presence. Thank you for everything.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Righteous Alonzo, and can you hear me? Oh, a little better? Okay. And I am a personnel specialist in the Navy. It's a mix between personnelman and dispersing clerk, DK, which a lot of people probably know better than PS. I joined the Navy in 2005 out of college. Graduated high school in 2000, did 4 years of college, graduated, came out, the economy was in shambles, so I had to figure out what to do with my life, and even though it was like one of the last things I ever thought about, the Navy was there. And saw a commercial one day, I was like, you know what, it's time to change up. I was like selling DVDs for a living or something like that. And then I changed that whole thing up, joined the Navy. Out of the Bronx, New York. My first duty station was a reserve center in Buffalo, which was cold. I used to shovel snow every single day. I had to make a walkway for the CO and the XO every single day. And I was the lowest man, so for about a year and a half, I shoveled snow. Then they shipped me off to Horn of Africa, where I worked for the commander, pretty much his driver, and handled day-to-day operations with what was going on out there with the pirates and all that stuff. Came back, and then went to another reserve center in New York City, which was my hometown, so it was great. Went to Guantanamo Bay from there, and was a guard at the prison, which is very, very interesting. What I learned there is that it might be surprising to a lot of people, but the people there were just people. You know, they had lives beforehand, they joined up and fought, and they got captured. You know, and as much as they're our enemy, you started to see them as like, they're us, they're fighters. You know, so it's very weird to say that, but it's very true. When you're there, seeing them every day, and talking to these guys and talking to your shipmates about what was going on every single day there. So that's a story I like to tell to a lot of people, that, you know, these guys were just everyday fighters, pretty much like us. They got captured, and now they're sitting there 18 years later. Well, what is it, 15 years later? Yeah, still doing the same thing, so it's pretty crazy. Now, in, I also served at the Pentagon, where I was the administrator for all the Navy Reserve Admirals, which is very interesting also. Handled their travel and their pay. And now I'm at VR 58, where I handle the pay for all the reservists there. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for having us.
How y'all doing? I'm Randy Rushlow, originally from Burwell, Nebraska. Thanks for having us here tonight. But joined the Navy in 2007. First station was HM-14, Norfolk, Virginia. Did it out there to Korea for a while. And then the next station was VFC-12 in Oceana, Virginia, right across the river pretty much. And then came here in 2016. I've been here since. That's all the story I got.
You're in kindergarten, right?
Just want to say thank you as well for having us here. It is an honor and a privilege to share with all of you, my current brothers and sisters, and then the people that have gone before me as well. So thank you very much. I've been in the Navy I'm Eric Hamelin. I've been in the Navy for 22 years. My father and my grandfather before me were in the Army, and I thought about it, but I really had a drive and a want to work on fighter airplanes. So I too looked into the Air Force and the Navy, and chose the Navy due to the fact that the Air Force specializes in certain tasks, specific tasks, and the Navy is a very variety of jobs that you do as you go on. So I figured I could learn a better trade to maybe get a job out in town or afterwards, after the Navy. So I was born, like I said, an Army brat. I was born overseas. Actually, my dad was serving in Italy, so I was born overseas, and then joined the Navy. I was dirt floor poor, pretty much. You know, didn't have anything, couldn't afford to go to college or anything after high school, so I joined directly right out of high school. Started off with in F-14s. That was fun. That bird is something, a sight to see when it goes out and flies, but it was a pain in the butt to fix. I think before they went away, we were working, I think it was 24 hours of man hours for every hour of flight it took to keep that in the air. So it was a lot of hard work, but we played hard too. So it was a real close community. And then I went to F-18s, and that was a total opposite. That was a very user-friendly plane, so really enjoyed that time. During my time with those two commands, those two aircraft, I served on 5 different aircraft carriers, and I worked the flight deck most of the time with that. I really enjoyed my time on the flight deck. One time I went out, I worked just in the shop primarily, and I really didn't like that. So after that, I chose to try to be on the flight deck all the time. So, during 2003, we were in the Eastern Med doing our missions with 2 aircraft carriers, flying over through Turkey and then bombing North Iraq. So that was very interesting and an experience. But I always felt like we were the safest place ever, being on an aircraft carrier. So I never had to worry or think of anything bad happening to me, fortunately. So After that, I did a tour at eye level, went up north to Pennsylvania, and had to shovel a lot of snow as well. My division was in charge of that actually, so it was kind of crazy. Didn't like it, so moved back, went down south to Atlanta, did DC-9s. A lot of us kind of work on some of the same airplanes. Traveled the world, and then went back to Texas to do another eye-level tour, and then now I'm with VR-58. So then, like I said, everybody, you know, probably the best decision of my life. My brother was, when I said, hey, I'm going to join the Navy, my brother said, what are you going to do that for? You know, we were rambunctious coming up, we were real close. I think he just didn't want me to go away either, and he even says the same thing, smartest thing I ever done in your life. So it's an honor and it's a privilege, and thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Paul Harris. I'm an airframer. Sorry I'm late. I was undeniably detained by an aircraft coming in out of emergency. So I just got off work recently and made it here. Couldn't wait to see you guys. So, my first tour, I came in 2001, 16 days after 9/11, and my mom was freaking out. I did a couple of years of college before that, so I decided it was time to go in the Navy. I was paying for it on my own, so I went. The day before I left, I went to my buddy's house, and his father said to me, he's like, oh, I heard you're going to the Navy. I said, yeah. He goes, oh, you don't have to worry about any wars breaking out or anything. You know, you go in and do your 4 years to get out. And the next day I woke up, that's when 9/11 happened. So, you know, me, I'm a little nervous, and I was like, well, it's time to go. So my first tour was VX-1 in Pax River, Maryland. I was at S3, H-60, and P-3 on those aircrafts. I had to work all 3 of them. I did 3 years there. From there, I transferred up to Brunswick, Maine, BP-10. I did a couple of years there, 2 years, and one deployment. Master Chief said to me, hey, Officer Harris, what do we have to do to keep you in the Navy? I said, get me out of Brunswick, it's too cold here. Right, so I ended up getting out right after deployment. I joined the Navy Reserves, and I moved down to Florida. And I've lived here ever since. I started drilling with VB-62 on P-3 Squadron. And then in 2012, I went over to VR-58, where the grass is green. So, I didn't realize how well they had it until I got there. But the Navy has been such a blessing to me, just from the new family that I have coming in and the people that were there before us. You know, they showed us the way and led the way. So I appreciate everything that you guys done for us. And we hope to continue on the legacy of the people that serve.
Does any of our residents, anybody else want to share anything with us tonight before we just get into maybe having some social time and eating? Yes, ma'am. Come on up, Miss Jean.
My husband was on Guam for almost 3 years. You know, this action was going on. And he said at the end of the war, here come the Japanese down out of the hills with their hands held up, because it took them a long time to find out that the war had been stopped. And they came out with their hands out of their bunkers up in the hills. And they came down with their hands up when they finally got the word the war was over. And then my son served in Germany, Stuttgart, Germany. And he had to go up to the border one time right after he'd had a wisdom tooth pulled. So he was driving the Jeep up with his officer above him, and he would spit out the window, there was no window. And here he went up, just as fast as they could get up to the border above them, because the enemy was coming in. There's been, and there's other members in my family. I have Air Force and Army in the First World War. My uncles were in the Second World War at the beginning, and they all came back survivors. It's been a good time.
I got one more announcement for my veterans here. Ron, I know you gave me the flyer for the Vets for Vets. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have a driver for that. So if anybody, some of you guys that have cars, if someone wants to take some of our veterans to the Prime Osborne on the 24th of February, that would be fine with me. But you just get with somebody you know that has a vehicle and maybe we can work it out. Or I'm sorry, most of the drivers will be going for that ritual ceremony, so I'm sorry. Y'all know I would work it out if I could, but I don't have anybody to drive the bus.
Just there when you only go once
Yeah,
a year.
okay. So that's the only other announcement I had, and also my way back great is General Wainwright, just so y'all know.
You know, I heard a rumor about a story about Whitey. I don't know how true it is, but I heard his first citation was for saving the government a lot of money. After they tasted his first pancake, the Navy didn't have to buy any more collision mats. Any of you folks are any good at naval history? You guys that are visiting?
Somewhat.
First naval ship, what was the name of it? First naval ship.
Constitution?
It was 1796 was Constitution. The USS Hannah. It was a fishing schooner out of Marblehead, Massachusetts. Okay? It belonged to Jonathan Glover, brother of John Glover, the famed General Glover of Glover's regiment in the Revolution. It was taken up from the Beverly armed and went to sea from there, with other ships armed right after it out of there. First Commodore, an Irishman named Barry, was a fisherman from Ireland. Second Commodore, who had the best record, his name was Tucker, Samuel Tucker, and he had the best record. Each Commodore, they didn't have admirals back then, each Commodore had a ship, fleet of ships under him. And there was the USS Tucker, Captain Manley, there was the USS Manley. Of course, this was the USS guided missile ship Glover. There's been 3 USS Marbleheads. And Marblehead is considered the birthplace of the American Navy because of the outfit of the schooner and all the fishermen. Fishermen were Navy men. A lot of them were privateers back then, too. So naval history is very good to look back and look. My family has been in Marblehead since 1629. That's when the first one came. And they came, one of them came out of Plymouth, and one of my relatives stepped up. They've been in every major battle in this country, my family, since they stepped off the Mayflower. I went to join the Navy, they wouldn't take me, the Coast Guard didn't. And I used to be the lonely little, there's like 25 Navy guys, I think there's 27 Army guys living here now, 8 or 9 Air Force, about the same amount of Marines, and I used to be the lonely little Coast Guard guy, but there's 2 more in here tonight. World War II, Jim Evans. And where is Frank? Frank's over there. When I met Frank, Frank came out of the same Moose Lodge I did. When I found out where he was stationed 2 miles by sea from my house. And they used to wake me up every morning early when they wind up those PBYs and PBMs, and they warm them up in the morning. So there's 3 of us called lonely little Coast Guard guys here now. How many World War II guys still here? Stand up, you guys.
1,
4 of you.
3.
9 or 10 still living. You didn't stand up?
I hear you.
What? Sit down. we thank you folks for coming, and thank you, Donna. And anybody wants to step up, get around, talk to these guys. Thank you all for coming. We won't eat till yesterday, so you guys